Zac Purton, a 7-time champion, a legend, and now the king rewrites the record books here in Hong Kong. It's 1814 history.
Well, Zac Purton, many thanks for taking the time to chat to us. Now, the Purton name and records here in Hong Kong seemingly go hand in hand, but how challenging has the most recent one been?
It's been a lot of years of support and hard work to get to where I've got to, and obviously everyone sees the position I'm in now, but it's easy to forget about all the work that has gone into getting to this position. But I'm not focused on the record as such. I'm just focused on trying riding as many winners as I can, as quick as I can, and that'll take care of the record. Obviously,
you'd had plenty of good success back in Australia, of course, but when you arrived here, what was the overriding feeling, I guess, that the challenges that this place might pose to a jockey, and what was sort of the sense going forward in your mind?
Well, the sentiment with Hong Kong racing back then, and still is that it's the pinnacle of racing around the world, and every jockey from Australia that I had seen had gone to Hong Kong, had always then come back to Australia a much better jockey. And I was in a position in Australia, in Sydney, where I was at the top, but I wanted to be the best. And I thought if I went to Hong Kong and gained some more experience and learnt my trade a little bit better, I could then take that back to Australia and become the dominant jockey that I wanted to be. But I come here, and although it was hard, it was challenging and it was difficult, there was something about Hong Kong that I loved. And there was one moment in that first season where I really did think about going home, because I just wasn't getting the opportunities which every jockey seemingly goes through at some stage here. But when it started to turn and I started to get given some chances and I was making the most of them, well, there was no turning back from that point.
Hong Kong racing, Zac, has got a tremendous history. It obviously dates back many, many years, but just to touch upon the sense of achievement, I mean, leading rider in Hong Kong by number of winners, I mean, it takes a little bit of achieving. Interesting enough, there's a picture here right behind us, yourself and Douglas White, of course, who formerly held the record. You ended his run of 13 championships. You were the first Australian champion jockey since Noel Barker in '91. So there's so much more to this, isn't there? And a real sense of history and pride, I'm sure.
Yeah, there are a lot of achievements and milestones that I've sort of hit along the way that I'm very proud of. And one of the hardest things in Hong Kong is just surviving here. There are so many jockeys that walk through the door that walk back out it. You can come here and you can have one good month or 2 good months or maybe 3 good months and get on a little bit of a roll, but at some stage things get tough, you get into the grind and you find out where you really are in the pecking order. And for me to be able to maintain the level that I have over that long period of time, that's something that I am really proud of.
To try and pick highlights amongst all of your successes, there's been a couple of derbies, you represented Hong Kong in Royal Ascot and Singapore, and big winners all over the place. If there was maybe one or a couple of overriding successes there that do stand out, what might they be?
Yeah, I think here at home in Hong Kong, I think winning the Derby on Massive Sovereign was fantastic. That race was just such an exciting race to have the tearaway leader like we did, and to save the ground, come through the field and run them all down, and to do it the way he did it. He only had one run prior to the Derby, which is very unusual, and so I think that in recent times is a highlight. Riding Beauty Generation all the way through is another highlight. He's winning the International Mile when he was 5 lengths in front with 50 metres to go, and I eased him down. He smashed a world-class field. There were 5 or 6 genuine world-class Group 1 winners in that race and in good form at the time. There was Exultant when he fought back.
Yeah.
He got headed in the Vars and fought back to beat Liz Gaucher. You don't see horses fight back like that. So that was a special moment. Aero Velocity, the whole journey with him, especially with Paul O'Sullivan as well, who was always a good supporter of mine, to go to Japan and still be the only international horse ever to win that race. That was a special moment. And then when he won his last international sprint here in Hong Kong as an 8-year-old, when we thought he was probably past it, and he rose from the ashes like a phoenix and delivered again. That was very exciting. And then you touch on Royal Ascot. I didn't really understand how much it meant at the time, but as time's gone on, I've become to appreciate it more. And then back home in Australia, the win on the Caulfield Cup on Admire Acti, that was a highlight for me there. So You know, I've been lucky. I think I've ridden Group 1 winners in 6 different countries. I've ridden winners in 7 different countries and ridden in 9. So I've had a good career, none more so than here in Hong Kong.
When you listen to you talking about all these great memories, did the apprentice champion from Brisbane ever think you'd get this far? I suppose it's bonkers to think so, isn't it?
No, never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd be as successful as I have been. I'm proud of the success that I've had.
I guess every jockey goes through that, like you say, they have bad runs, not so good runs. How sort of mentally tough do you have to be to sort of overcome that and say, right, you know, this is the bigger picture, I'm staying and I've still got more to achieve?
Well, at the time, physically, I didn't feel like I could go on. My hip was in a really bad place. I was struggling to walk. I was getting home after race meetings and just lying on the floor, looking at the roof, absolute agony. Like, I just didn't think I could get out of bed the next day and keep going on. And, you know, through various treatments and a period of time, for whatever reason, it's just started to settle down a little bit. So it was at a point where it was breaking me, and now it's given me a little bit of relief, whether that is good fortune or whether the stars are aligning to try and help me a little bit. And then obviously I had the chat to Nicole, and she was very keen to stay here. Obviously we were thinking about going back to Australia, and she was keen to stay here. So I'm glad we did do that, because now it's put me in the position to, you know, break a few more records and tick a few more boxes.
I want to ask you about Nicole, of course, because we see her as your biggest supporter, your 2 kids, Roxy and Cash as well. How big a support have they been to you in achieving what you've achieved? I mean, I guess you can't do it without them, can you?
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't have been able to do it without Nicole in those early years. She was great support. She was very positive. I was lucky that she was quite naive at the time. She was only 19 when we first arrived here, and she was sort of more blown away by the big city and the bright lights, and wasn't really in tune with what was going on the track. I'd come home from a race meeting and I might have run 3rd or 4th, and she'd be like, yeah, you've run 3rd. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, 3rd? That's not going to get us anywhere. But she was very positive, and I suppose I sort of needed that. And then as I've got into my career, she's obviously, you know, comes to the owners' lunches and dinners, so she knows them very well, and she has a good connection with them, and she's a good help there. But she's always been a good sounding board. I'm sort of the person that dives in without thinking and just runs head on into things, and she's more sensible and level-headed about things. So I think as a team, we've bounced off each other quite well, and it's certainly worked out. And then obviously the joy of having the kids more recently, and watching them grow up and having them come to the races, and them knowing exactly what's going on now, and you know, they're enjoying ringing the bell for sure. Which is great, and that's all part of the journey. It's all part of the journey of life, and I just think timing-wise, everything's worked out really well for me. I come here at the right age. I didn't come here too young. I had the option to come here earlier than I did, and at that time I didn't feel like I was mature enough or ready to come here, and when I come I probably still wasn't mature enough. But I think I come at the right age, and that has certainly helped me with my career on the track, and then what has happened off it as well. You are, you know, very much at the top of the pile, and they do interact with you plentiful. Is the fans in Hong Kong? It's quite prominent, isn't it? And you've always, I found, interacted with the fans extremely well. Do you enjoy that? Even walking around Hong Kong, you know, every day, there's someone pulling me up for a photo and wanting to chat and just wishing me luck and things like that. And they don't overimpose. They just want their couple of minutes, and then they're on their way, which is good. But I think that's a great thing about Hong Kong, is that the city and the social aspect of Hong Kong is so intertwined with the racing here. But yeah, in the area of social media, it's a lot easier for people to connect with me and contact me, and it does take up quite a bit of my time sometimes replying back to all those messages that people send. But it's good that I have the support. I appreciate it, and I certainly wouldn't be able to do it without it.
You've been here a long time. You've had plenty of time to sort of work Hong Kong out, I'm sure. What does Zac Purton do in his downtime? What does he enjoy in Hong Kong?
I enjoy playing golf. Yeah, I think I've always been a sportsman and an athlete, and loved being outdoors. So that helps, and there's a competition involved there as well. So that's good. You can have a little bit of banter with your friends, and it helps getting away from the buildings and the city and just get out and sort of not de-stress, but it sort of gets your mind away from everything.
Zac, it sounds like you're having a whale of a time at the moment. Thanks for chatting to us, and many congratulations once again, of course, with another record in the bag.
Thanks, Nick.